Welcome, Crypto Raider World. Good morning, Arium. You know I have to say it at least once in the show. Welcome to the very first Council of Elders. Good friend, sophisticated art speculator. What do you want to be called? Like, you've got so many names. So, I'm like, what do I call you?
Oh man, you can just call me Nick. I
Just
actually
call you
updated my
Nick?
Twitter profile, and I'm like, if you don't want to call me by an imaginary name, you can call me Nick. But I like sophisticated art speculator, sass, kicks, and any of it's good. I'm gonna try not to change my name anymore. Other than that,
Well, I mean, it's just like Tina. Like, I don't even know who Tina is anymore. She changes her name in a Discord.
like Bob.
I don't even know who she is anymore. but but no, that's awesome, Nick. Nice to meet you. Finally, our first time
Yes,
really talking to each other.
I know.
And I'm so happy to be here with you for this first episode. How excited are you for Crypto Raiders, man?
Oh, just so excited, man. It's been such a fantastic journey. Such humble beginnings. It just really started as an idea with a couple of friends, and it's turned into something special. We got such a great community, so just loving every day.
So, were you one of those guys that played with RPG Maker? Did you do that at all? Did you mess with that
Oh
game?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like you are one of those kind of guys. I tried it, but I gave up pretty quick. But I love what you guys are doing, Mike, and that's why
Thank you.
I'm pouring as much energy and time as I can
Really
into
appreciate that.
Crypto Raiders. I think you guys have a gold mine, not just in terms of money and value, but just of gaming potential, right?
I'm with you.
And I think NFT gaming doesn't have what you guys have right now. It's not something that's out there really. And you guys have an amazing future ahead of yourselves. So I hope everyone in chat gets that and they're understanding that, guys. This is really the sky is the limit. It really is.
Amen.
Whoa. What? Your voice just changed. Did you change your mic?
In a good way or a bad way? Yeah.
Good way.
Yeah, I changed to this. I just realized at the last second that I was on this mic and switched over here.
I was
I'm
like,
trying to keep the production value as high as you keep it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to match your energy.
It scared me. I was like, whoa, God, the voice of God just entered my ears. What the heck? All right. We've got three special guests, guys, that are coming in. And I don't want to say grill sass, but just a community discussion about the game from community leaders. This is something we're going to try and do bi-weekly, not just with sass, but with other members of the development team, from the art, from the tokenomics. We're going to have a chance as a community to really bring our thoughts, our ideas, and our concerns to the team. And I don't know about you out there in the chat, in the Crypto Raider community, but I don't know any other NFT gaming company out there that allows us to have this much interaction with the devs. So truly, it's an honor, Sass. What you guys are doing is amazing. And I think we just we get right into it, man. You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm ready to rumble.
Let's go. Let's go over to the other phone call.
Great.
All right. Be right back. Boom. Boom. Hopefully this is gonna work, guys.
Amazing grace.
How are you guys doing? Let me just say hello to you guys. Just a quick introduction.
How's it going? Going pretty good here.
How's it going? It's going pretty good here as well. Just excited for this interview. See what Sass has to say about a lot of questions that I've been having.
Likewise, curious to see what alpha we can get out of Sass here today. So let's do our best, guys.
And any leaks.
So just to make sure, because you guys aren't, if you don't have your face cams, HelV and Unsung, let me just have you guys, say your name so that way the people in chat and the people listening on Spotify and whatnot know who's talking.
Sure. I'm HelV. Just kind of if you're on the stream, I've got the little Colossus pictures. All you can see.
Awesome. And Unsung.
Yeah, I'm Unsung, and I'm addicted to investing in play to earn NFTs and and I love crypto raiders. So here we go.
Let's go. All right, it's time to get serious, boys. Music is dropping out. Let's get into the questions. I'm not going to really ask many questions. I'm gonna leave it to you three, and then we're gonna have an opportunity for those in chat to ask their own questions. That way, we feel like this is really a community-driven thing to really ask some serious questions of the dev team. So I've got Runnerfive on my right screen here. Let's go with you first, my friend. What do you got for us? What do you want to talk about?
All right, so the first thing I want to ask about is the Shady Merchant, because obviously he just came out, so I just had a couple questions regarding that. Kind of like that the foundation is already set for the level 12 items. Does the team expect the eye levels for the other ones like 11, 10, 9, and so forth to move a little bit quicker with being implemented? Or do you think it's going to take the same amount of time to put forth the foundation for those to put into the game?
Yeah, great question. And first of all, I loved the ball toss to your dog to start it off. I thought that that was awesome. And yeah, so it's very easy now for us to implement all of the other eye levels. It's a very quick change to do it. We just have to make sure we get the math right. Well, two things. One is determine exactly how we want to curve down the rewards, and then two, to make sure that we get the math right on it, which I don't think is very, hard or challenging for us to do. We were looking at like tearing it down, like each eye level by maybe like 25 and 30 or 30%. It's just a question of how far do we want to go down. We essentially want to have like at least a 5 eye level range, and then that eye level range kind of shifts with the players as the players move up in max levels.
And then regarding the like rewards, I guess you kind of discussed it some. As it moves up, you guys are looking, I guess, at a 25-30% reduction. Like, so when it goes to 13, eye level 12 is going to be worth 25 or 30% less. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, exactly. So basically we did like the math on making like the current eye level, the current max eye level. We did like math on making sure that that's a good enough amount of Orem rewards to sell, without like going too high with it. And then we could just, so if we move up to eye level 13 would be at like this level, and then eye level 12 would shift down, eye level 11 would shift down. So that's our current working idea for how to do it.
Okay, and then the last question about the Shady Merchant that I have is, are you at liberty to say what it meant about seeing him in dungeons and the weapons or I guess gear that he might have?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, we haven't gone too into the weeds on that one, but we thought it'd be cool for Lavs to have some different potential mechanics in it. So maybe he appears randomly at the end of a dungeon. And when he appears randomly at the end of a dungeon, maybe he gives you better rewards, than you would normally get, but you only can sell, 1 or 2 pieces. Or maybe there's some loot that you can actually buy off of Laz. So there's lots of options for what we can do there. We're definitely going to keep it open ended. I think the first step is to get more eye level options so that it's not exclusively weighted to people that are at max level. And then after that, we can really explore some cool ideas with it.
Awesome. And I'll pass it on to HelV, and then I guess we'll circle back to my other questions.
Great.
All right, perfect. One of the big topics I wanted to talk about is guilds and kind of what the team's thoughts are moving forward to that. Excalibur kind of touched on it in the Discord earlier, but for the people that aren't in Discord 16 hours a day, I figured I'd still ask about it and what kind of would be coming there. Because right now, if you want to try and like get somebody in, like if I want to go and get one of my friends in and get them to join and make an account and all of that, I'm better off just giving them my account information than I am having them join my guild because the functionality is so limited. I know that's a lot to work through and kind of get working, but if we have any kind of like idea when or if kind of updates are coming to that.
Yeah, great question. So I think the first thing that we have to do is just finalize what we want to do with V2 in terms of features. So part of that's going to be, engaging, or actually most of that rather is going to be engaging with, the community and people like you that really want to do it and see what level of, functionality we need to bring in and what the real priorities are, right? So like is the real priority to allow you to give people in your guild more access to certain things, but like also having you have on-off options, right? Like,
Yeah.
like a big limiting factor I know right now is like they can't equip new gear that they get. And that's a big limiting factor, right? If you want someone to really manage one of your raiders, like start to finish, then they should be able to, equip gear, swap out things, etc. Right. And then if you want them to be able to sell to Laz, right? Maybe that's like an on-off button that you can put on, different people in your guild, and give them that optionality. Another potential feature as well is to allow that player with their own login for you to allow them to like automatically get some of the rewards if they like sell to Laz, right? And maybe that's like a sliding scale where you can be like, cool, 60-40. I keep 60% of the Aurum and the other 40% drops into the stash of the person in your guild. So we've had a lot of, big features that we've been trying to get out to the door, get out the door. And we definitely want to circle back with guild. So I think the first step is just engaging with the community, figuring out what the, top 3 priorities are in terms of features. And then we can work on implementing those.
Yeah, that's way more bullish than what I had heard previously, and I think that's really cool. If you can kind of talk to, because I know there's a lot more people than just me that want to make a guild. Like, I'd love to have like the ability, like the basic things, like have them be able to use keys, equip items, put stat points in, things like that. Um, Obviously, it's awesome from like a perspective of getting other people and like paying them to do it type of thing. It's awesome to have like that sliding scale and them automatically get paid and things like that is awesome. I don't know if that's where you guys want to go with it. It sounds like it's a little bit mixed on where you want to go with that, but that's really cool. And like anything that makes it so I don't have to like just send people my username and password would be really ideal.
Yeah, and I think part of the hesitancy of maybe some people on the team is that like they don't want to turn it into this just like full on scholar system, which I completely understand, but I think that there's more cool things we can do with it if there is that level of functionality, right? Like
Yeah.
I imagine like guilds where like maybe you have someone on your team and like their specialty is managing all of the items in the guild, right? And like sorting out all of the equipment and figuring out like they almost manage the guild bank, right? And then you could have players in your guild that they're like the top PvE grinders, right? And they do all the PvE stuff. And then maybe you have some people in your guild that are the top PvP players. Obviously with farming, with the MetaMask interactions, that makes it hard from a guild, but like ideally you'd have maybe a player on your team that does all of the farming stuff. And what we're really excited about too is like also to make it so that guilds can be like the guilds that we grew up with, right? In like World of Warcraft and all of these other games that we played, where they're like a collection of players trying to accomplish certain goals. Like my dream is that guilds are able to group up and run dungeons together, like multiplayer PvE experiences. So I really think the sky's the limit. That the number one goal is to prioritize the next 3 steps. And I do know some people don't want to have this full-blown scholar system, but like I also think about the onboarding mechanic. Like if you're able to get people introduced to NFT gaming for the first time through your guild, like that's a really powerful thing. Like who's to say my personal opinion on scholars and guilds and other play to earn games, they get a lot of trash, but I think it's more of a function of how the game tokenomics and the game mechanics are, right? Like if there's
Yeah.
nothing to use your currency for, then everyone's going to dump, whether they're in a guild or not, right? So I don't think that, like, you know, guilds or scholars need to have these really bad raps, because, like, who's to say that HelV's not going to bring someone into his guild who's going to want to grind and save up all of that orums so that they can go buy a character themselves, right? Or
I tend to agree too, because like I've got 5 people right now in my DMs that want to run characters for me, and like 2 of them are people that just want to earn orums so they can swap it for Raider to stake to get in on airdrops later on. Like that's their primary purpose for wanting to do it. And I think if you shy too far away from like if you want to go completely away from any kind of scholarship system and shy too far, you're also missing out on a lot of, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, a lot of the Aurum spend that could be done. Because like if I want, like, I know this is, you know, people will say like whale problems, whatever, but like I've got 600 characters. If I want to level them up to max, I've got to spend 2 million Aurum on keys right now. That is what it would take for me to get caught up, and I'm perfectly willing to do that. I'm perfectly willing to sell a mob and buy 2 million Aurum and spend it all on keys. But the functionality for me to be able to do that without having to send people just my personal account information has to be there in order to make it, you know, viable.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. So I think that the next iteration of guilds will definitely include that functionality. So I mean, there's 2 parts there that you really said, which is that one, that you need to allow players in your guild to have more control over what they can do with the Raider, and then also a system where, you know, you can split rewards with them. And as you said, like, there's a lot of players out there that are going to take those rewards. They're playing crypto raiders because they enjoy it, and they're going to take their rewards and they're going to probably put it back into the economy and the ecosystem. And I think that's fantastic. That's a great story.
Yeah, I'll pass it on now to Unsung, because I think that's all on guilds that we can really beat out of it.
Well, I just want to interject real quick on guilds. I have a scholarship team with Axie Infinity, about 20 scholars, right? And I've just started the process of onboarding them on to Crypto Raiders, and building the guild out and setting a rules and a bylaws for the guild. And I cannot tell you how awesome it felt to create a guild like that we're about to play together. It's totally different than Axie Infinity, right? And it's because we're like, and I tell them, like, so how we're doing the earning things is we're gonna do a pool. So like, we're gonna sell whatever gear we get, a pool, we divide it amongst the guild, and that's how we're gonna start out. But that just builds like a team, like bonding, you know. And then we're gonna do inner guilds, and I'm gonna award, you know, whoever wins in the guild match, you know, Aurum or something, just to build this team atmosphere. I don't really have that in Axie Infinity, you know. So when you talk about, you know, this scholarship idea, or the devs are talking about this, you know, I don't think that is something we really have to worry about if guild leaders and guild masters run a guild the way you did in WoW, you know.
Exactly.
Like, and that to me is like the bullish part for me, is that, you know, this is not going to just be a scholarship, you know, extraction type thing. You know? Yeah,
and Mac Arthur on our team, he really wants to explore possibilities of doing like integrating guilds on chain, where like guilds could have governance systems, you know, and voting mechanisms for their guild, right? Where you have like a collection of players and they can vote on what they want to do with the guild treasury and like what the objectives are. So I mean, really, the sky's the limit. You know, with where we can take it. I think the next step is, okay, clearly defining what V2 is going to be, and scoping out like the 2-3 key features that most people want, and then we implement that, and then collect feedback, and then do V3, V4, V5, and I'd like to think like a year from now, it's going to be just a lot of features, a lot of functions, and a lot of excitement around it.
Sounds like a good opportunity for some DAO voting in there,
right?
At least more than 10 members, please.
Yes, yes,
right.
that is limiting.
Unsung, let's go ahead to you, bro.
Yeah, the guild, you know, I agree, because like
you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out, bro.
Guys hear me? Okay.
Cutting a little choppy.
Why?
Yeah, you're kind of roboting a little.
No.
Try it again.
I'm gonna go for.
There you go. You're good.
Well, it was good.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Disconnect and reconnect.
I'm gonna pass for a second. You guys, yep, and I'll jump back in. Sounds good. Sounds good.
I love right when he passes, it gets good. It gets good. It
Yeah.
just works.
I think
You just hit a dead spot on the road, probably.
Go try again on Unsung real quick. Okay, maybe
He was on his way home from work, and he pulled over on a rest stop where he said usually he has pretty bad service. It was working pretty well
It
while we
was.
were discussing stuff before you guys jumped in, but I guess he lost service again.
Chat is saying Unsung AI confirmed. It's hilarious. I love it. All right. Well, while he's figuring out his internet, Runnerfive, how about you go ahead, take the next step.
Yeah, and Unsung, you can also type some of your questions into the Discord our group chat if you want to.
Yeah.
And then Lang1y can read it out.
Oh, okay. So I just had, I guess, a little bit more questions about the alchemy tables that should be coming out here pretty soon. Like, what kind of benefits are the crafting tables going to have? Like, which will make people want to have one?
Yeah, great question. So, like one of the primary features out of the gate is that a level 1 alchemy table will reduce the cost to craft potions by a percentage, and it should be strong out of the gate. It should be something like, in the range of maybe like 50%, maybe 40%, but like, definitely more than like a 10% improvement. It's going to be chunky. And then eventually down the road, we're programming the smart contracts so that it's possible that maybe certain potions can only be crafted with an alchemy table. And then the goal is that by making it like level 1, we're kind of signaling that you'll have the ability to upgrade alchemy tables, and maybe that increases the reduction in cost of potion crafting, and maybe unlocks additional potions that you could use.
Okay, and then like, would there be any benefits to having both? We'll say a level 5 alchemy table and a level 50 like alchemist. Like, will those kind of play off each other to give you more benefits?
Great question. So I mean, like, yeah, like the natural benefits will stack. It likely, in order to use like higher level crafting tables, you may need like a certain level of alchemy. You know what I mean? So like, maybe if there's a level 5 crafting table, maybe you have to be at 50 or more alchemy level in order to use it.
Okay, and then the other, I guess, question I have when it comes to alchemy is, right now there's no real incentive for you, especially for, we'll say, HelV, who has 600 raiders. There's no real incentive for him to level up each one, even if he had the people to play him, because if you have one guy that's, we'll say, level 50 or 60, he can create all your potions for you. Are you guys looking to implement maybe a system where you'll need herbalism, like a certain level of herbalism or a certain level of alchemy to be able to use the potions that are being created?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I kind of like the idea that like, certain raiders in a guild or in a group or with an individual player can have different specialties. It reminds me of my experiences playing RuneScape, where, some people, really wanted to level up the PvP side of it. And I was all about, crafting armor, so I was mining, I was smelting, and I was crafting. So I really do like the ability for people to, specialize in different areas. Maybe a player has 5 characters, and one is their, PvP player, and one is their PvE dungeon grinder, and maybe the other 2 or 3 are supporting roles. One's herbalism specialist, one's an alchemy specialist, one's a mining specialist. But like, I think we will have caps on the alchemy table. So like, you're not going to be able to take an alchemy table and like run 10,000 potions through it like every week. Maybe level 1 you can make 10 or 25 potions at that cost reduction, and then level 2 you can make more potions, and level 3 you can make more potions per week. But we will have some sort of capping on it, because if you don't put any cap on the alchemy table, then it sort of inherently reduces the value of the alchemy table, because then people really only need, theoretically, one person in the community could have a level 5 alchemy table and just run the whole economy through it. So there will be some sort of capping on it.
It's really great to hear that you guys have thought that through, because I know that's not even a consideration that I brought up even after you started speaking about it. Um, I lost what my next question was regarding Alchemy. But since you talked about like specializing in certain things, like me myself, I like playing Final Fantasy 11 and then Final Fantasy 14. So when it came out, and in those games they obviously had crafting and stuff, and they had fishing. I loved fishing. So my next question is, when
And
fishing?
fishing.
Definitely, fishing has been wend for way too long. I think earlier on in the development, not saying I'm anywhere in the ballpark of who Elon Musk is, but I think that especially me on the team, I kind of Elon Musked a lot of timelines and speed to implement things. And then we got to a part in kind of the internal road mapping process where it's like, okay, like we want to do all of these things, but like what are the key components that we like need to get into the game first. And then also we looked at the how we could scale the economy with the on-chain farming side of the business, but fishing is something that we think is so fun to play that we're like, no, fishing has to be in the game. The great thing is that we've been working with an awesome studio to take the the lead on the Unity side in porting the Unity thing in, and we're actually in talks with them now that we have more capital to work with to like double the size of their team so that we can get a lot more bandwidth out of them. And so I think that kind of like a fishing minigame in game that would be handled by the Unity studio. So we're in like the final sprints of porting to Unity. So they finally got hooked into server side, which is another thing that took way longer than expected. But the whole server side infrastructure is super important because it allows like actual PvP to be possible. It opens so many doors. And so they have finally hooked into that. And they're playing a little catch up right now on getting abilities in. And then hopefully we get Unity into the hands of some internal testers in the community very soon, and then get that out to everybody. Once we hit parity with Unity, then the exciting thing is we can have our core dev team work on certain features like maybe crafting or PvP, and then we can send the Unity team and have them take the lead on things like fishing or building the overworld or building multiplayer PvE experiences, things like that. So we don't have it on the hard roadmap, but actually one of the discussions we had with the Unity studio when we're talking about scaling up their team is like, they're like, okay, great. We need like a very clear 6-month roadmap. And so that's something I'm working on right now. Then I'll present it to our team, then hand it over to the Unity squad. But fishing will definitely be on the 6-month roadmap because that's something that I think everyone really wants to get into the game, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And that's part of the goal is to have raiders be able to do more every week, right? Right now you can run 5 story mode dungeons, you can do 1 endless dungeon per day, and then other than duels, that's about it, right? But like if there's fishing in the game, if there's the overworld of the game, there's just so much more to do every week with a raider, and we think that's important.
Well, that's great to hear. Like it's going to be within the next couple months or 6 months or what have you. Have you guys discussed or thought of like how the mechanics will work for fishing? So like we'll say someone, because like in Final Fantasy 11, there's a lot of people that use bots to fish, and obviously if someone does that, that's going to pretty much ruin that like aspect of the play to earn for crypto raiders.
Exactly. That's such a tough challenge right now, is that, since our economy has a lot of real value in it, that's why we have to do all of these, different types of gating, in order, because literally, as you said, like if you just leave something ungated, it's just going to get botted to Kingdom Come. So like fishing would, we'd either, gate it in the amount of, fishing that you can do every day, or gate it with like the amount of total fish you can collect, right? So maybe you can like dump like bad fish and just keep farming until you can get some better fish. We got to figure out like the exact mechanics there, and then what is fishing in terms of value in our economy, right? So is it a consumable? Maybe like fish scales is integrated into crafting, right? There's like all sorts of different things to do there. So like there's 3 components. One is deciding like how fishing will work mechanically. I personally love like Stardew Valley style fishing. That's really fun for me. I know a lot of people love Final Fantasy style fishing. So figuring out like how fishing feels and looks and is played. That's one part. Two, like what is fishing, produce and what is its value in the economy. And then the third part is like, how do we gate it so that, it doesn't get, botted.
And then my last question before I pass it on to HelV is, uh, has there been, I guess, a decision on what professions that you guys are going to have? I imagine there's going to be woodworking for like maybe building fishing rods, cooking the fish, and I'm sure there's other ones that the team has discussed.
Yeah, so on the short-term roadmap, we got herbalism, we got alchemy. The next two will very likely be mining and smelting, because that's going to be a core component in crafting. So we really want to get that in next. And then I think, the other ones like, cooking and fishing and stuff like that, that'll be in game. And those are definitely on the short list for the next level of professions. But like, looking on a longer term horizon, I would love to have the amount of, profession diversity that, World of Warcraft or RuneScape has.
Great. HelV, I'll pass it to you.
All right. Well, there's a lot of stuff I want to get to, but I feel like I have to kind of represent everybody that's doing PvP now and everything like that, and kind of talk about that a little bit. Where do you see like the competitive scene kind of going and evolving to? Because right now, it kind of feels like, and I mean, you guys have done a good job just in the last like few days of trying to bring that cost down. But the cost to get into PvP, and that's like the main incentive right now for spending keys and doing that, is to be able to compete in tournaments. The cost is so high that unless you're able to consistently win tournaments first place and win the month-end tournament, you cannot break even or even come close doing it. My character can make 0.25 ETH per week, every week, pretty consistently, and I will lose $6,000-$7,000 a month if I compete in tournaments.
Yeah, and then there's also like an acceleration of like the winners get most of the money, so then they have the money to make sure that they are always at the top tier of gear, and it's kind of this like endless endless loop of unfairness, maybe for the lack of a better word. So there's a couple of different approaches that we're looking at taking. So one is we did that that permadeath tournament, right, where like everyone's on a level playing field, there's a set amount of keys, and that was a great experiment, but that doesn't like integrate super cleanly into our game. Another thing that we really want to bring in is a matchmaking style system where there's rewards that happen on matchmaking and not just tournaments. So the PvP rewards aren't weighted exclusively to the 0.01%, right? Like if you're PvPing, if you're in matchmaking, and even if you get into the top 100 or top 250 or top 500, you're still getting a good amount of rewards. And then even people that aren't top 500, maybe they're getting something as well. I also think that there's things that we have to do on the economy side to make it so that people can't just get insanely far ahead of everyone else. I also think that like part of the problem too is like the lack of item slots, and I think if we get more item slots in and we structure the item slots so that it's hard to get such an advantage on them, then it can kind of smooth out the curve. Because like right now it's really weapons and chess pieces that are giving you most of the value. But then there's we're working on the Raider International, and how we're and I hit you up about this, HelV, to get your thoughts. But we're looking at a couple of different models, but one model is that all 2,500 players would get like the same 250 pieces of gear in their inventory. And so there's no inherent advantage on the gear, but there's a lot of gear diversity where people can still find, different builds. So it's not 100% mirror matches. An alternative that I talked to you about is that maybe those 250 pieces of gear are all like random rolled. The downside to that is that someone just gets an RNG advantage. That's a little bit of the challenge, right? Is because you can make it so everybody's literally equal. And eventually our game with abilities and class abilities and consumables, like we can get it to a state where that even if everyone has access to the same gear, there's still a lot of build diversity that would make it fun. And then, the other side of this scale is complete RNG or complete pay to win. I think that the answer, that is definitely somewhere in the middle. But I think we're going to keep, experimenting. The big short-term priority for me with PvP is, watching the awesome tournaments. And, Lang1y hosted an awesome one. I literally put it on my TV and I watched the whole thing. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, people are literally spamming attack and then they're ruined. And that's it. I'm like, we have to get abilities in next. There has to be something more for Lang1y to talk about. Like, oh, he got countered with a brace or. Yeah, exactly. And I'm watching Lang1y and he's like, oh, and it looks like he got a crit. Oh, and that guy hit and that guy hit and that guy. There's not much to talk about. So really, like, that's great feedback, HelV. Like, we have to make PvP more fun and more decision making, because that allows players to beat other players, not just on gear, but decision making. But then you're also right. We have to make it where, there is gear diversity, but there's not just 3 people winning all the time. And since they're winning all the time, they have so much money that they can ensure that they always win until the end of time. That's not fun. No one wants that, especially not me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary, I think. We'll see if Unsung has his working, or if he's got any questions that he
I can hear you guys well, so hopefully you guys
you
can hear
sound
me well
buttery
at this
good
point.
now.
Oh, good stuff. I was actually going to ask regarding that, when or would you ever consider doing like 3v3, PvP duels where, we set up little teams of 3 raiders that are classed and skilled differently and do, 3v3 tournaments?
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea. And I mean, when I played RPGs, growing up, like I was the PvPer. Like I was in World of Warcraft, like my eyes are bleeding. I was with a top guild, but my eyes are bleeding in like PvE. Like, oh, okay, we all died, reset. Okay, buff everybody. Okay, cool. Like, my name was Sack at the time, and they're like, Sack, like, you need to be top of the leaderboard. You're a rogue or whatever. But I did PvE to then go into battlegrounds and to go into 3v3 or 5v5 arena. Like I had so much fun with that. So that's 100% coming into the game. And if you noticed with the abilities and the tooltips, like combat is already constructed with server side to allow that. So like already some of the abilities are cast self or cast friendly or cast enemy or all of them. And so we built the server side combat infrastructure and the abilities to facilitate this. And that's a really big priority for me. I mean, the first step is to get PvP to be actual PvP, right? And then I would love like 3v3 battles. I think what I have to figure out with the Unity team and our dev team is like, do we need to create just the multiplayer, like a generic multiplayer mechanic first, right? That can then work for PvE and PvP. And then like pick which one we want to prioritize. Me as a PvPer, I'm like, I want 3v3 PvP. And me as a PvPer, I'm like, when battlegrounds, when can we have, that style play? So it's definitely coming. And I think like where you're kind of leading is that just naturally makes PvP much more interesting, because now it's not just ability min-maxing and gear min-maxing. Now it's your team min-maxing. And then another question too is like, how do we it's easier to make it one player like Axie Infinity that is playing 3 characters, right? But ideally we want to get a place where it could be 3 separate players on the same team playing in an arena together. But as you can imagine, the programming for that is a little bit more complex, because you're having to have like 6 concurrent connections in, and they're all doing all of that stuff. But I mean, that is 110% on the roadmap, and I want it sooner than later.
Agreed. I was going to say earlier when I was cutting out, I think that's exciting with community and like guilds too, because that really preludes well to like guild versus guild, PvP of some form. And I think that's, when I look at this space, the way to be sustainable long term is people have to be willing to spend inefficiently sometimes, right, at negative EV, and not be all about
having fun.
they're having fun. And community, like the truth of it is, we all live in this space now, and we have fun with the people we know on Discord and online. And if you can do things that you can win together, like I always love playing craps when I go to the casino, because you win together or you lose together, right? Same like this way, you either win together or you lose together as a guild. And so I think that would be massive for the growth of crypto raiders.
Yeah,
I
I
did
love
want
that.
to.
I'm a big craps guy too myself. Actually, funny
Oh, yeah.
story. Last time I played craps, I bet on double sixes. You know, you can bet like the exact dice roll.
Yeah.
It's like 31 odds, and I hit
Yeah,
it, and I
one
didn't.
dice.
Oh yeah, and I double sixes. I hit it, and I didn't know that casinos they leave your initial bet on because it's like an edge for them. And the guy rolls double sixes again, and I hit again. And so I told Core, I told Core on our dev team to bet double sixes because he was going to Vegas and he hit it. And I'm like, oh my god, this is like the double six is becoming a meme. But what was your next question?
Oh, so that's a sucker's bet. Be careful, but it's
I know.
beginner's luck.
It is.
I was going to kind of talk about mobs a little bit because we love mobs.
Yep.
We're excited, and you leaked a couple or announced a couple things that you were thinking about with mobs. But first, I was wondering, I don't know if it was released. How was that initial airdrop for mobs? If you can talk about it a bit, how was that calculated? What was kind of the way that we came up with those numbers out of curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, I handled that whole thing, and I did it, you know, like fairly simply. I just said that, okay, like, you know, people have been patiently holding on to mobs for a very long time, and I want to, you know, reward them, you know, until we can get like more mechanics into place. So I really just worked with the numbers until it got to, you know, amount that I thought was good for initial airdrop. So it wasn't based on any internal, you know, game mechanics or numbers or anything like that. And likely the second airdrop will, you know, and we haven't decided exactly what it's going to be. Maybe it'll be Orm again. Maybe it'll be dungeon keys. Maybe it'll be something else cool. But it will likely just be like okay, like this is what we want to give out. And then, you know, we want to get the, you know, mechanics. We want to get it like automated where it's actually based on player activity. And then of course we want to explore like other things that we can do with mobs to make them more excited, make them a bigger part of the game. I actually had a call today with one of our investors about how mobs are like a huge IP piece of crypto raiders, right? And looking far down the road, you know, if crypto raiders had a MOBA or a card game, right? Like it makes a lot of sense that mobs are the IP of that. Of those, you know, games in the crypto raiders ecosystem, and like how do we use that to deliver value to mobs and also excitement?
I'm going to interject a question. I'm going to interject a question real quick from chat about mobs, just because it adds. Have you guys thought about summoning mobs into battles? Like,
so like if you're like if you're a raider.
Yeah.
Like if you're like a raider, you could like summon a mob to help like fight with you. We've like sort of considered that. Like one thing in the realm of that would be like allowing mob holders to mint companions, or also like you know, set their mobs so that other people can like breed companions off of them. I think like a companion would probably maybe fit a little better into like the combat than mobs, because you also don't want to make it exclusionary where like only people that own mobs can summon mobs, and therefore like people that have mobs have like a huge advantage. So I think like something like a companion play would like that allows like any raider to, you know, get a companion, but they get it through the mobs. I think that's, you know, a cool potential mechanic.
Another option would be like a summoning stone that lets you summon a random mob, and whatever mob you summon, the holder of that mob gets a portion of the cost of the summoning stone.
Great idea. See, and that's why I love our community so much, because there are so many ideas that we don't have to come up with. You know what I mean? Like literally, I don't think everyone knows this, but like Unsung is the reason why Endless Dungeon is in the game. Because just one day he dropped this like, you know, 5-paragraph idea of like this, you know, originally his idea was like a permadeath thing, and maybe that does come in one shape or form with like Endless Dungeons, but it's just so cool to be building alongside with the community. And I just want to let you all know, like, we read everything in chat, and like we pick out like all the criticism. We are discuss internally and see how we can fix things. And also all of the good ideas were like, okay, this is fantastic. Like let's get this on, the roadmap. Let's figure out how we can, implement this stuff. And that's exciting for me because it just shows how a lot of people like see the potential for where we can take crypto raiders. HelV had an awesome idea where he was like, what if Laz can offer you dungeon keys, but can offer you dungeon keys at a premium to what the Orm would be, because the dungeon key has to be used to run more dungeons. And that's just a fascinating idea. There's a little bit of legwork to figure that out, especially, if like someone's selling a common and it doesn't round up to one dungeon key, like Laz has to be able to like accept multiple items, for like one transaction sort of thing to make it work. But I mean, it's a phenomenal idea, and we'll definitely be getting that in the game too.
Unsung, you got anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say, so it was exciting when I saw your announcements with mobs, right? Because, it's very clear we're not thinking of a passive mobs, just a passive earnings, having mobs, but really an active component. I was hoping you can kind of expand, like, what were your thoughts when you said that mobs training? Because I'm thinking, here's a way we can differentiate, certain mobs that are identical, but, maybe level them up or they become stronger if you invest your time in Orm or Raiders, tokens or whatever into them to level them up. What were you thinking about when you said mob training, Sass?
Yeah, you're like spot on with like what you were thinking. So, I mean, with everything that we want to do, we have this like, we either have a grand vision or like a direction we want to go in, and then it's like, okay, we have to like start with like step one, right? So like, step one will probably be, a little bit more simple. The idea is like maybe you have to train your mobs, but when you train your mobs, maybe they're out of the endless dungeon pool. So, there's a risk reward, but like if you never train your mobs, they fall behind in levels. And maybe like if like, let's say you're looking at the mythic sub pool, right? And like you're a level 1 mythic, but like everyone else is level 5, maybe that reduces your chance of appearing in endless dungeon, right? And so like you need to level to like improve your chances to get into a dungeon. But then like there's so much more, so many more interesting things that we can do with it. Like what if mobs had their own like niche of like PvP where they have to battle against each other in order to level up or stay relevant, or they have to battle actively against raiders, or like, for example, like maybe there's a way to level up like fodders so that they can become a pack of fodders, right? And then like when someone's in endless dungeon, they're fighting like 3 fodders or 4 fodders instead of just 1, and so they become like powerful. Like really, there's so many different like directions that we can take it. I think like the first short-term direction is just to remove the like 100% passive component to them and make there be like some work and effort for like mobs to like stay relevant in the ecosystem, and then from there I think we can build on some like really exciting things.
Absolutely. I don't know if you're familiar with the Ether Orcs like project that's also on Polygon now, and that reminds me just of that. You have to make that risk reward. Should I level up or should I just farm for currency to play the little game that they have? And so very cool components there. Awesome. I love to hear that, Sass. Thank you.
Yeah, and they're doing some cool things over there. I think they're like I read their latest like post. They're like improving like the dungeon crawling experience and doing all sorts of cool stuff on crafting. I've always been such a huge fan of that project primarily because of just how hard they're working and how hard they're like updating things. And I think that they're often slept on. But I think they're a really strong team. I think they'll be a great competitor to us. So I look forward to stealing some of their ideas.
Steal it. I love it. Hey, the flattery there, right there.
That's funny.
That's it for me right now. I'll pass it on to the next person.
We're about 6 minutes to an hour for the show.
And I can run a little over if we need to.
Okay. Cool.
I'm having fun. Yeah,
awesome.
So up to you all.
Runnerfive, what you got? Anything else, bro?
Well, before I ask my next question, I do want to say that Sass was offered the opportunity to get the questions ahead, and he chose not to because he felt I guess it'd be a little bit more organic to provide the response that he was going to provide today. And thus far, like, he's done phenomenal. Like, he's obviously a great speaker, and he's thought things through in regards to the game and obviously the information that's being discussed within the Crypto Raider team. So, like, you're a very very good speaker and a very good face forward crypto raiders in the
Thank
sense
you.
of like the presentation of your speech.
Appreciate you.
So my next question has to do with stat rebalance or like the stat rebalancing. I don't
Yeah.
know, I guess when the next one will come up in regards to, I guess I know we're getting abilities out here pretty soon, but
Mhm.
has the team looked at when like stats will be rebalanced, especially like for, I know a lot of people in the community when it comes to strength, like I have a ton of great strength gear, but I can't like all my strength raiders struggle in PvE, and in PvP they just do not do well at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a problem. So what's interesting is one of the key problems with it is the how our stats work in the combat system. So I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but basically right now, like melee resist, um, it doesn't scale well going up. So like one of the primary things of like a strength hero is that like you're supposed to be like resisting damage and reducing damage, right? But like the way that it is in the system is like super inefficient, and basically it's just like losing its effectiveness over time. So we're working on changing melee resist to a defense mechanic, and the defense mechanic will scale up much better, and I think that will help that. But on top of that, we may have to do we definitely have to do some just rebalancing to just like stats in general. We've been progressing and trying to improve them. It's a little bit of a tough thing. You know, you pull one lever, it messes everything else up. So we're trying to get better at that. And then also, once classes and class abilities and the class talents come out, that's a way for us to also fix balancing issues. But the short-term thing first is to get the melee resist replaced by defense. That's going to greatly help strength. Second is we probably need to look at just stats in general and how they're influencing combat, and improve that. And then thirdly, we need to get classes and in the talent tree in place as well, because for example, if strength is just inherently from a stat perspective a little weak, right? With like a class ability, if we can address some of that weakness with a class ability or with the talent tree, that's going to give us like more things that we can do to balance it out. And then also inherently, classes will give a lot more diversity to like what a strength hero is. Are you a warrior, right? Are you a paladin? Are you a barbarian? So there'll be more optionality there, but I 100% know strength is not in a good spot right now. So we have like a three-pronged approach to improving that. The first one being the defense mechanic.
Okay. And then my other question before I pass it on to HelV is when it comes to the stat reset scroll, like
Yeah.
it's like, especially for a new player, like if they want to reset or respec raider that they have right now,
Brutally expensive.
I'm not concerned so much about the cost, because the cost is what it is, and you don't want to make it too available for everyone because everyone would just
Yeah.
constantly be resetting.
Totally.
But has the team considered possibly putting like a 15-minute window or a 30-minute window? So like when you do a stat reset, you can play around with the gear that you have, and then also with the stats that you're trying to create, or that you're trying to like finalize. Because once you create something, if it turns out to not work, and I'm sure HelV and maybe Unsung have been in this position where I've thought, oh, these stats will work significantly better when I have, and then I can't even beat, we'll say Dan K or Kenna, when before I was winning at least some of the time, and then I have to spend another reset scroll.
Totally. And then God forbid you like fat finger,
Yeah.
like the stat thing, and then like you're just locked in and screwed. So I think that there's multiple ways that we need to improve that. I love that idea of basically maybe you can like pop a scroll and you have like 30 minutes or an hour before you have to like lock it in, and then you can like test and you can find what you like, and then implement it. Or if we have some sort of like simulator that allows you to simulate it, and then you can go and adjust your stats. I think that's a fantastic idea, and something we'll have to look into. And then I also think like something like maybe it's free stat resets like up until level 5, so that like new players do have that ability to like play around and learn and understand without it being so punishing. And then maybe it's cheaper than the current price from like 5 to 10, and then from like 10 up, it's like at the current price. That way, like, that makes sense. Like as you're going deeper into your character progression, you should sort of be kind of like honing in on the build you want to run, and there probably should be like more friction for you to just change it around. And then, you know, by making it free for level 1 to 5, like it makes it for newbies, it gives them a lot more, you know, ability to learn. So I think that's definitely something that you know, we need to address and make it a little bit easier. Because yeah, I mean, here's the thing: like, if you're, a lot of people don't even know when they go in and they're playing a level 1 character that like it's, you know, $60 USD or whatever to like reset stats. And if you don't know enough about the game, you're just leveling up. You're like, oh, cool. I'm gonna throw it all into luck, you know. And then you get to level 5, and you're like, I can't kill anything. And you go to Discord, and you're like, what's wrong with my character? And people are like, well, you're, you know, 100% luck. You're not gonna make it. So yeah, we need to improve that whole system. But I like the, you know, a lot of people in the community, they don't want to make it like too easy for everyone to reset, because then you can just, you know, any gear you get, you can just quickly reset and do that. I also think part of the problem as well is the lack of ability to trade gear amongst characters, right? You know, it's kind of a bummer to, you know, be an agi build and you get like the best strength weapon known to man. At least right now you have an option to sell it to labs, but that's not great. Like, you know, ideally you'd be able to like fence that on the auction house, like for a premium, and then, you know, take that money and go buy yourself a great, you know, strength replacement, you know, for whatever you sold. So, you know, there's multiple things that we need to fix, but we definitely need to improve stat resets.
How close are we to trading, you think? Just off the top of your head.
Yeah. So, it depends if you mean like, you know, in game or like out of game. So, actually I have a meeting on Friday for, to take a look at, an auction house build that we can potentially use. And that would be huge just to get more of our, you know, economy on the auction house, where that 2.5% going to OpenSea can flow through our economy. I think that's like way more healthy. But then we need to create the gear NFT bridge out. The gear NFT bridge itself is a lot more complex than Aurum, right? Because there's multiple mechanics to it. Essentially, like, someone wants to bridge an item out, so then you need to create an NFT. You need to send them the NFT. And then they can, you know, trade it on the auction house, or they can swap it to a different character, and then bridge it back in. And then when you bridge it back in, you have to like burn that NFT off, you know, instead of having it just like, you know, sit in the treasury. So there's a little bit of legwork there. And then also from a security perspective, like, you know, it's very easy for us to look at Aurum withdrawals, right, and see anomalies. It's a little bit harder because it's just Aurum, right, and it's the quantity of Aurum. It's a little bit harder to see anomalies on the gear side. But we recently brought Peter the Rock. I don't know, you know, y'all seen him doing some great dashboards. So we brought him on the team, and he's able to pull data out of our database. And so he's going to be able to get us like really interesting graphs and dashboards that will allow us to see like what gear is being produced in the economy. So then like if, you know, 30 Lightbringers get created like all at once, you know, because there's some bug or whatever, we'd be able to like very quickly like identify that, and then, you know, shut down the gear NFT bridge until we can roll it back or whatever. But then there's also like, you know, can you just do trading in game? And trading in game is a little bit of a simpler thing to do. But there's also this kind of tug and pull between like, if the only thing in that comes in and out of the game is Aurum, then like really aren't you just like a game that's like sort of attached to the blockchain, right? Like there's a lot of cool things that are possible with like gear being able to be NFTs. So yeah, I think I got that meeting on Friday to look over the auction house, and like if that's looking like strong, then I definitely want to finalize how to do the gear NFT bridge, and then start work on that.
That's exciting. So I don't know. Did anyone know that Peter the Rock is he on staff, or is he?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Congrats.
No,
to
I didn't
him.
know that at all.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
awesome.
I like his work. I always
Yeah,
check
me
on
too.
there for the holders and everything else.
Well, that's one of the best parts of Crypto Raiders is you guys are taking people from the community to build this game, like literally hiring them. Like that is so awesome to see.
Yeah, I'll show you like this. I'll drop it in our chat, but like this is a dashboard that he just like created today, that shows like dungeon runs per day. and also like raider counts by level. Yeah, so like the sky's the limit on like the things that he can like build for us, and we want to share a lot of this data like with the community as well, you know, because it's like exciting stuff for like everyone to see. So yeah, expect a lot more like on the analytics, you know, data side from us.
Great. That is awesome. HelV, anything else? I'm sure
Yeah, well, my next question was literally going to be about stat reset scrolls as well. So that kind of got covered, though I will admit I'm kind of in the minority on stat reset scrolls and that I don't particularly care for them at all. I'd rather, you know, if I was building a game, it would just literally be click and you reset your stats. I know most of the community is against that, so it's not something that's going to happen here. Because people like making it a decision-based thing. I like experimenting more.
For sure.
But yeah, they're definitely, my opinion on them has always been, you know, you've read my chat messages in Discord. I've always been a huge detractor of their price.
Yeah, and I don't think you're really like in like a super minority on that opinion either. And that's one of the toughest things is it's easy when everyone in the community agrees on a decision. That's the easiest type of, you know, decisions for us to make. You know, the more challenging ones are when there's very polarized opinions in the community, and you're going to piss off one group of people or the other, no matter what you do. And so then like we have to figure out the decision that we think is best, but that's only half of it. We then have to convey to everybody like why we think that is the best and try to get buy-in from everybody on that decision. So like scroll resets is like a perfect one. There's people in the camp of like, this should just be like free resets. There's people in the camp of you should have to pay for it, but it should be cheap. Then there's people in the camp of like, it should be expensive and punishing. And then there's people in the camp of like, you can like tier up it over time. And so those are the more challenging problems for us to solve, because like it, you know, we want everybody to enjoy our game and be happy. And, you know, on some of them, it's hard. We have to make a tough decision that we think is the best for the game and know that, you know, some people may not like it. And, you know, that's definitely one, but like, regardless, we do need to make some improvements to that system. It's too expensive and it's too punishing to newbies.
Is there going to be a
The last
free
thing
one with abilities real quick?
Great question. I mean, I think we should probably get like, you know, some sort of, you know, free stat reset out. I can't make any promises, but it's not hard for us to do. It's a click of a button. So let me go back to the team on that one.
I know chat is drumming up for it, so they want it real bad.
Yeah, yeah, they are for sure.
When reset, free reset,
free reset. All right, go ahead, HelV. Sorry.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about maybe can probably get some people hyped up about a little bit. When you posted your kind of like roadmap update, one of the airdrops on there was like the farming scythe type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of going to be an airdrop that's going to be way more like vast to a lot more people?
Yeah.
And a lot more of them drop, because it's kind of basically the same idea as mounts, except they have even less utility. It's just for farming. So you can kind of give them to a lot more people and have a lot more of them. And they're kind of, it's one of those things where every character is going to want them eventually. So it's kind of one you can afford to go a little bit crazier with and give it to people who are staking less, you know?
Exactly. Versus like an alchemy table that like, you know, functionally is more valuable in the ecosystem, and therefore like you can't just, you know, give it away to everyone. But you're spot on that that's going to be an airdrop that we can be you know, much more liberal with. And then the thought process is like, as we expand like tools and buildings and stuff like that, like doing initial airdrops for them, and then make them, and we still have to figure out the mechanics, but then make them actually like buyable with Aurum after the fact, potentially. Because that could be like a really exciting Aurum sync where like people are like, cool, like, you know, I got 5 raiders, I'm grinding, I really want an alchemy table, I didn't get airdrop, so I need to, you know, save up my rewards for a couple of weeks to be able to afford one. Also, we're really excited about making these things like droppable in dungeons too, right? Where like, you know, maybe the farming scythe is, you know, a 1% chance to drop in a certain dungeon, and people can do that, but we need the gear NFT bridge to make that functional.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Yeah,
right?
I've got 600 herbalists right now that all want it, so I'll be farming whatever dungeon.
Yeah, HelV's like, there better be a lot of scythes because I need a lot of scythes.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to farm. I'm sure like everybody who has like less raiders staked, that it's still like for some of them is a lot will love to get in on an airdrop that's
Totally, it feels good, right?
A little bit more wide like that.
It's like a Christmas present.
Yeah.
Before we go to Unsung for his last question, how are you thinking about doing the airdrops? Is it going to be raider staked? Is it going to be whoever has a certain level of herbalism? Like, how are you thinking? Or have you thought about that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's definitely going to be staked raiders.
Okay.
Need to take care of the people doing that for sure. But like with the mob airdrop, we also airdropped it to like, players that had multiple characters. I love the idea of the of like tying it to like herbalism levels, and that's one thing that we definitely want to explore more is like how to reward the like most active like participants. Like for example, when we do the Raider International, we got to figure out like the prioritization of the whitelist of like who can buy these access passes first, and like one way to do it is literally who's playing the game the most. You know what I mean? Like they should probably get a priority to get into the like massive tournament we want to run. So yeah, I'm all about that. Is like definitely has to go to Raider stakers, but then after that, like can we drop a couple to the top 25 herbalism levels? Can we make it available in game? Can we drop it? So we're looking at all that stuff, and I'm excited to explore that.
Awesome, that's great. Unsung, what you got? Last question.
All right, this is my last question. This is a hype topic here. I saw on your announcement with Mob, Sass, you mentioned integration with Crypto Raider Land. What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Yeah, definitely. So we are looking at our eventual land play not to be like this, oh, it's going to be a metaverse and you'll be able to use your land sometime in this decade. We see like a really cool integration where like land can almost be like a not a real-time strategy, but like have real-time strategy mechanics into the land. Similar to like StarCraft or Age of Empires and stuff like that. Right. That's kind of where the buildings can potentially go. Right. So like imagine that like you have land and you have slots for different buildings. Right. And like you need an alchemy table that's like at least level 3 on your land, and you need a smelting furnace that's like at least level 2 on your land. And if you have both of those, then you can craft an advanced building. But like the advanced building is only craftable like if you have these other things on your land, right? And then if you take it farther to like a Clash of Clans model, right? Like maybe you need maybe people have the potential to like raid your land and kind of poach some of your resources. So you need to have mobs that like actually defend your land against attackers or raiders or stuff like that. Mob training facilities could be on land, right? But maybe you need like an advanced mob training facility, and the only way to get that is to have a basic mob training facility, and you need 2 other buildings on it to build that. So that's the sort of like direction that we're looking at, and I'm sure a bunch of competitors listening will steal that idea. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten too much into depth on it, but we said it first. But that's like the long-term play for land, and then eventually getting it to a spot where like you actually are going around with your raider on the land, and maybe you can build like a guild hall or something where people can come hang out, or maybe there's special land for guilds where they can just build it out as like an awesome overworld experience. But that's where we're looking at, like with like the land thing, is like I just think it would be so cool if like land is a game itself. You know what I mean? Like where land is kind of like a an RTS kind of model. There's decision making that you have to make to your land. There's min-max thing there. I only have 1 slot to build an expert building. Like, what do I need to build it for? Or like, my land keeps getting raided, so I need to go buy a mob because I need to have a mob like defend this because I'm just getting hosed. There's so much we can do with it, but like that's the general direction we're going.
I love it. I think especially for guilds, you can see that like how exciting would it be to be the first one to build a 1 of 1, right? Guild building that has something special, right? That's that's going to be the history of Crypto Raiders. So I love it. Awesome.
Yeah,
Sass.
and maybe it's like a building in honor of a god, and other players have to come and pay some tribute to get like an aura buff, right? I mean, like there's literally so many things that we could do. I wish you could just trade money for things to be instantly done. That would be like the ideal world, but there's this crazy thing of time and resources and all of that. But like that's like the direction that we're heading in. And so you can kind of see like why we're doing these building plays, right? Because it's like a part of like this overarching plan that they can like tie into land, and then you can like literally, as Unsung said, like you could have it so like there's these limited 1 out of 1s that come out every season, and like you have guilds just like fight, like battling against each other to like get enough resources to build one of those. So yeah, really like the sky's the limit. But I like that. I like gamifying land, and I like gamifying the economy, and like making that all tie and flow together.
I love it. This will be my last question, if I could. So Sass, if you could, like in 1 to 3 years or something like that, and you have all the money in the world to get things done, what do you hope Crypto Raiders, the world, looks like? What does the game look like at that point in time for you?
Yeah. Like, so 1 to 3 years, like Crypto Raiders is a RuneScape, is a World of Warcraft in terms of like a complex economy, exciting PvE, exciting PvP, and not most importantly, but a component that's almost forget, social experiences, social areas for people to hang out. Like I didn't just PvP and PvP 100% of the time. Sometimes I just hung out outside of Orgrimmar and chilled with people and chatted with people. And there was friendships made there, and there was, lots of cool stuff that happens there. So like really 1 to 3 years where Crypto Raiders core game is like a RuneScape, is like a World of Warcraft, like just a true RPG with so much optionality, so much diversity to it. And then on like the 3-year horizon, like Crypto Raiders is a studio, and it's not just the core game, but we're building other games in the ecosystem, MOBAs, card games, things we can't even think of right now. I literally actually spent one weekend. I created a turn-based MOBA system with mobs. That was pretty fucking cool. But then I looked at it and I'm like, the stupidest thing you could do right now is focus on that when Crypto Raiders core game is not where it needs to be. So that is tabled away in my office. And in one day it'll be created. But really the 1 year focus is like all in Crypto Raiders core game, making it the best RPG on the blockchain. The 3-year vision is like Crypto Raiders is a studio, and the Crypto Raiders ecosystem has so many different things that you can do in it, not just the core RPG game.
So are you considering?
I love it. I love
Are you considering like a sidechain, kind of like Axie Infinity has?
Whew, after that hack, it sure makes you like think, twice. We're talking with the AVAX team. They have the whole subnet stuff going on there, which is like really exciting because you can get like an Axie level experience with a lot of the security of like a parent chain like AVAX. So I think that is super interesting. Like the other exciting thing about that is like then you can make Aurum like the gas fee, right? And then like you have this just like permanent like sync into the game. So we're like definitely exploring that. Like what I can say like for sure is that like I believe that like we should be like eventually be like multi-chain and like some sort of capacity, just because like from a liquidity standpoint, like a player access standpoint, like it makes sense. It's kind of like, do you want to sell your game just in the United States, or do you want to sell your game in the United States and Europe and Southeast Asia? But also there's a ton of work that goes into that. You know what I mean? It's not like just copy paste. So we have to be very strategic with it. We've talked to IMX. They're a great team. Immutable X. We've talked to AVAX. Like I said, we love Polygon. They've been fantastic and helped us out a lot, but like, we're definitely exploring that. We haven't made any decisions, but definitely don't think we'll build our own chain ourselves, at least not for years, because you can literally just see what happened with Axie Infinity. Like there's just so many attack vectors that can go wrong. So I think that like it makes like, that's why like subnets like logically, make a lot of sense to me. But once again, not saying like we're 110% going to a subnet and we're going to be on there in like 2 weeks. Like these are things that take time, take a lot of strategic decision making, because if you make the wrong decision and you build on a chain that like dies out, then you did all this work and there's no real upside, and there's a ton of complexity with like bridging things and security with that. So yeah, long-winded answer to say no, probably not an Axie sidechain in and of itself, at least not for years, but maybe some other stuff on the horizon.
Unsung, I interrupted you there. You have one more thought there?
Oh no, that was it. I love how grand you guys are looking at, and it gets me excited. So that's it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. That's great. Well, we are at an hour and 20 minutes, so I think we will go ahead and call it. Unless anyone else has any pressing, like a big question they want to ask right now, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Sass, do you have any finals?
I just want to say, like, thank you so much to all of you for hopping on this. Thank you, Lang1y, for putting this together. This is actually inspired from Path of Exile. Their team does these things very regularly, and I think it's so important to create a feedback loop with the community, and, other than just Discord, like to hear from respected people in the community and what they care about. And I just really appreciate Runnerfive, HelV, and Unsung for like coming on. Like, your questions excite me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm coming out of this with like so much adrenaline and so many things that I want us to do. And I really appreciate all three of you, and like and Lang1y included, with just like all of your contributions to the community. Every piece of feedback that you give, the good, bad, the ugly, like, it's so valued to like us as a team, and like we appreciate your like support every day. And I just want to like closing thought, like just let you know, like if I was here to make money quickly, I would not be doing Crypto Raiders, because I made a lot more money trading NFTs, which I don't really have much time to do anymore. And we look at this thing like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to like do something us as a team truly loves for years, if not like decades. And like our real goal is to be like the Blizzard of the blockchain. And it's not just important for us, but it's important that we do it for you all. Because like I think we have an obligation that you all believed in us, and we need to deliver on that. So I just really appreciate all of you and just everything you do for the community.
That is great. It's awesome to hear.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on and doing it. And I've got plenty of I've got plenty of the ugly side of that to
I know
to put in, but
HelV needs his own show.
I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. So
exactly, that's the thing. HelV, trust me, I read every post you make in Discord. I do. I guarantee it. And even the stuff that's like negative, there's a lot of good feedback in that. Like the negativity that I don't like in Discord is like when people just like don't have a suggestion or like anything. They're just like, this sucks and I hate this game. And I'm just like, well, then why are you here? I don't know. But like when HelV's angry, what I know is I can make HelV happy. That's what I know, because he cares. He's in the community. He loves it. And guess what? We need negative feedback. If you guys are lying to us about problems, it's not helping anyone. So I appreciate you, HelV, man. Crypto Raiders wouldn't be the same without you.
It's very nice to say. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, Sass, Unsung, Runnerfive, HelV. Absolutely a pleasure having you guys on the show, the first Elders of Council. Again, this will be turned into a podcast for those who want to listen, off Twitch or Spotify, SoundCloud, what have you. If you are someone in the chat, in the community, who would love to be on the show, please, reach out to me. Again, we are looking for community members who have the real questions. And we want to rotate community members in through this. So the participation from you guys is extremely important. It really is, as Sass has said. And looking so forward to the future of Crypto Raiders and what this game has to offer. We do have an Aurum giveaway real quick. I'm doing a quick Aurum giveaway. If you've not bought your tickets, make sure you get your tickets. I'm going to go ahead and close the giveaway. See who's getting some Aurum. And in 3, 2, 1. Oh, music's too loud. Pickle, music's always too loud for Pickle. It's because he listens with headphones on. I'm gonna lower it. There we go. All right, I'll give you like 5 seconds. 3, 2. Well, I kind of cheated there. Went from 3. All right, closing it. There we go. And 3, 2, 1. Wait, you can't hear me now? Pickle, I'm gonna slap that boy. There we go. Who is this? Caster Fordado. Congratulations. You won with a 1.83% chance. 1,000 Orem coming to you, my friend. Hit me up on Twitter, on Discord, or DM the Crypto Raider Twitch here, and I will get with you to get you some Orem. All right. It's been
Awesome.
a pleasure,
Thanks
gentlemen.
again, everyone.
Hey, you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
See you later, Arium. Peace out.
Awesome. Great stream, everybody. I gotta bounce.